Federal prosecutors are looking into a widespread network of what they called high-end brothels in Massachusetts and New England. Prosecutors brought charges against 3 people earlier this month for allegedly running the brothels, where they say elected officials, military officers, and other prominent figures bought sex, and more charges are likely to follow here. The case is reigniting conversations about the way that the criminal justice system handles these types of cases, particularly when it comes to sex workers, who are the most punished and imprisoned group in the sex trade, despite facing high rates of sexual violence and human trafficking. A group of state lawmakers and advocates argue that the solution is to decriminalize sex work, but still hold buyers and exploiters accountable. They're behind a new bill called the Sex Trade Survivors Act to do just that. 2 of the activists backing that bill join me right now to discuss. Audra Duty is the co-executive director of Safe Exit Initiative, and Audrey Morrissey is co-executive director of the nonprofit My Life, My Choice. I'm also joined by Deputy Investigative Editor Jennifer McKim, who has been covering this story for GBH News. I mean, I think, Jennifer, when we're seeing the very latest of this being this federal investigation, it comes to mind for folks. But certainly this is not a topic that has gone away at any point, and there's been rallying support around this bill.
Exactly. No, this has been something, as these 2 women know too well, this has been a problem that's been in Massachusetts and across the country for decades and too often ignored. And we at GBH have done a lot of coverage of this with our other colleague, Philip Martin. We've written about illicit massage businesses. We've written about young women who are trafficked in the streets of Boston. We've written about boys who are also being brought in and exploited and trafficked. So it is a huge problem, and this federal case does bring a lot of questions about what is happening here in Massachusetts.
And Audrey, I'll ask you, you've been an advocate for a long time in the greater Boston area, and when you see cases like this recent federal investigation, I mean, what goes through your mind?
Why aren't they holding the buyers accountable? You know, and as you said, I've been doing this for 21 years, and every time there is a sting to this magnitude, you will see the names of the exploiters, or you'll see pictures of the women who were caught in the sting, but we never see the actual buyers. And so for me, what I do know to be true is that that is the greater problem, because if people didn't buy people, then people wouldn't sell people.
Audra, talk to me about how decriminalizing will help the victims in this situation. Being the sex workers, right, that are being charged.
Yes, it would get them connected to exiting services, but it would be a partial decriminalization, because you have to remember we're still holding the buyers and the pimps and the brothel owners accountable. So it's not full decriminalization, so I just wanted to clear that up real quick. But it would get them connected to exiting support services, which a lot of the women or people in the life, they don't even know that that exists.
What is that for folks who may not know?
Supportive exiting services,
Yeah.
It's My Life, My Choice. It's Safe Exit Initiative. It's survivor leaders coming together and creating safe places. Through domestic violence shelters, safe houses, and that's exiting support services.
And this would help the sex workers in this situation by partially decriminalizing it. It would give them access to those services.
Yes, and it would stop criminalizing them and making them the problem, right? They're the victims of this crime, and they don't need to be criminalized for these actions.
Jennifer, what has been some of the criticism, I guess, to this type? I think when people hear you're going to decriminalize sex work, they think of something different. They don't think of, oh, it's going to give access to services.
Well, I think everybody's, there's so many comments that we hear. It's the oldest profession, and and so people say I think there is a lot of argument that, why are people in the federal government spending this much time going after a brothel bust that looks like consensual adults working together? So I think that's one of the issues that we often hear from the background when these types of things come up.
Yeah. I think, Audrey, you made a really good point about how when these arrests happen or these roundups happen, you see the picture of the women, oftentimes they are women, who are being charged with the crime. But there are, it seems like you just get the printed list, at least when we, as journalists cover it. When you have someone enter into the law enforcement system like that in this way, what kind of effect can it have on their lives?
Oh, my God. Housing, employment, and what I want to say is that My Life, My Choice, we work with youth under the age of 18, and the term sex worker is totally inappropriate for a child. But when we talk about adult women, like anything else, when they pull your Corey, and Massachusetts has done a lot of work, but still needs to do a lot of work around the Coreys, how...
criminal histories.
Yes. Their criminal histories, and people can't find jobs, housing, and so you'll hear, like, if a person can't get those things, then you're going to hear more of those stories around, I'm doing this to survive. But I will say the adult women that I've worked with, they're all for a partial decrim. They are not open for a full decrim. And what people don't understand is full decrim means pimping will be legal, brothel owning will be legal, and buying people will be legal. And what our bill is doing, and I do want to add that the Attorney General has signed on to our bill, and our bill is for all survivors and their safety and their ability, if needed, for them to gain services. I know when I was in the life, there was a process for me to basically learn how to live again, right? And we want to make our bill is in support. I don't care whether you were recruited in life, whether you're doing it because you choose to. We want the equal rights of all survivors. And with our bill to, expunging records, different programs supporting them in their journey. Because what I do know is that if people had good jobs, housing, access to education, a lot of them would not be in the commercial sex industry.
Audrey, you were, nodding vehemently. Has that been experienced with the folks that you're working with?
Definitely. And the shame and the stigma that goes along with being in the life and being a prostituted woman. So when you find a community of other women that have experienced, or other people that have experienced the same situations as you, and they come from the life, it's just, for me, that was a huge part of my healing process. I don't believe it's any little girl's dream to be prostituted, right? I believe it's their vulnerabilities. I believe it's a choice for the people with the fewest choices. Again, like Audrey was saying, like homelessness, employment, poverty, all those factors add into people entering the life. So I agree 100%. I think the shame and stigma along with this, and then the criminalization, they go hand in hand, and we need to stop blaming them and treating the victims as criminals.
Do you think that the factors, whether it be if you were trafficked, I know part of your backstory is that you were trafficked in the combat zone and then ended up in the life, as you say, those kinds of things. Do you think a bill like this will help get to some of those issues?
Oh, yeah. Well, what this bill will put up front is you will see the high number of black and brown people who are in the life and not by choice. And so that's why I fight so hard for this bill. I know that there are people out there that, this is my choice. They're in college. And for them that, when they decide that they want to get out of the life, they probably could. But who we see at My Life, My Choice, and even my encounters with other survivor-led organizations here in Boston that work with adult women, the black and brown people are sold at a higher rate, and they do not have a choice. And they are one of the most vulnerable populations. And the other thing that I want to say about that, just like anything else in our society, Black and brown people are sold for a lower rate. Black and brown person, their value to a buyer is not the same as a white woman who would be in the life. And so I feel that this bill will really help Black and brown children, Black and brown adults find a safe way to live, get those records cleared, housing, employment, education, and I would guarantee if we had put all those things forth, people would not decide that this is the only way that I can survive.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jennifer, I want to ask you, in talking to lawmakers and other elected officials, other folks like that, about the aim for this bill, is part of it helping to change some of that, what can be a pipeline into this, you know, commercial sex industry as Audrey described it?
Absolutely. I mean, I just want to say, I think what they're also talking about is there's some dueling bills in the legislature right now. One that is pushing for decriminalizing the selling of sex, and one that would fully decriminalize sex buyers and folks like the pimps. And the arguments among those people, who also include people with lived experience in trafficking, is that they think that it makes it more dangerous when there is a criminal part involved. But it looks to me right now, anyway, in terms of legislation, that their legislation has a lot more support in the legislature, because I think it's probably a lot more manageable for most people in the community to move that type of level. There is a similar bill that was passed in Maine just recently, the first in the country that did that, decriminalize just for the sellers of sex. So that's what's going on right now. And I think Massachusetts is really, what I've heard is that it's in the forefront in this discussion in the country. So Maine has passed a law. I think Massachusetts is looking at it very closely. New York is also looking at it. So we'll see in the next couple months what happens.
Audra, I'm thoughtful about things like, and I'm thinking of social media and things like that, where there's almost a glamorization of sex work. And I wonder if that hurts the work that you and Audrey and organizations like both of yours are doing to help women who are trying to leave this life and rebuild their lives.
Of course it hurts our women. It hurts our whole population. They glamorize it, especially OnlyFans, TikTok. You see these young girls all over social media talking about how much money they got, what's in my bag. And to a 12, 13-year-old girl like myself, when I was growing up, I would have thought that was cool and glamorous, right? Like, I wanted the new shoes. I grew up in poverty. I wanted nice things. So if that's what I had to do to get them, like, I'm going to look at OnlyFans and be like, oh, that's not bad. I'm behind a camera. I'm safe. Well, guess what? You're not safe behind a camera also. It's very dangerous to online exploitation. And once those images are out there, they're out there forever. So I would like to remind little girls that also.
Yeah, Audrey, I mean, I'm sure that you see it and you're like, this is going to work against me in the work that you're doing.
Well, My Life, My Choice, we work with kids.
You do, yeah.
And so I don't think, and my hope is that your viewers, and whether you're in the life because you've been exploited or because this is your choice, that you know that this is no industry for children. Mm-hmm. And what I want to say about that, anywhere that there is an adult sex industry, there are always children. There's no way to even have this industry without young people being involved. And, you know, and the glamour of, you know, you have rappers who used to be strippers, right? And now they're multi-millionaires, and not to, those are my people. Mm-hmm. But that's not the reality. And again, what we're talking about, those aren't the people that My Life, My Choice serves. And Audra, if I asked you, I'm sure these are not the women that you serve.
No.
Yeah. Well, we'll be following this bill and its progress, and of course all of the reporting that Jennifer and your team is doing as well. Audra Duty, Audrey Morrissey, Jennifer McKim, very similar names. Thank you so much.